right, everybody, we are focusing on relative pronouns today. Now, relative pronouns, they give extra information. They start the beginning of a dependent clause. So that's what you need to remember. They start the beginning of a dependent clause. Okay, Paul, what do?
They start the beginning of a dependent clause.
Okay, they start the beginning of a dependent clause. So the dependent clause is extra information. The dependent clause depends on the independent clause, right? Now I did add a couple of extra in here for our relative pronouns. Most of the time we have where and when that are typically relative adverbs, but they can also be relative pronouns. Now, if it's a where, we're using a where, it's going to do a place. Now remember, a pronoun, relative pronouns have antecedents. What is an antecedent, Paul? Pronouns replace nouns. The noun that it's replacing is the antecedent. What's the antecedent, Paul?
It replaces the noun.
Right. If you're using where and you can tell it's a pronoun and it's replacing the place, also which and that are things and places also. So you can use which and that for things and place. Who are people. When is time. Now, there's 5 main relative pronouns, and it's which, that, who. What are the other ones? Whom,
whose,
and whose. Now, if you can remember these 3, you're going to remember that whom, can hardly reach, and whose. See how they come off of who, and they do special things. These come off of who. So if you can remember these 3, then you're going to remember these. All right, just remember that. But we're going to add where and when into our relative pronouns. Most of the time, what are they going to be?
Place.
Relative adverbs. So most of the time, they're going to describe verbs, adverbs, and adjectives. Correct. Most of these will be describing nouns. Now, with that information, remember, they don't only function as relative pronouns all of the time. Most of the time you're looking at them saying, okay, they're going to function as relative pronouns, but they don't always do that, just so you know. So see how we can ask questions with who. It's a question word. We can ask questions with where. We can ask questions. So remember that. So just be careful with these words. If they are replacing a noun, all of these, if they're replacing a noun, then you know that they are a relative pronoun. Now, the very most basic in our English language, that's happening nowadays because we are becoming not as formal as we used to be. We're being more casual in our writing and in our speech. So who is being used more than like whose and whom. But you need to remember that who should be the subject, or it can sit in other noun positions that are not object positions. What's the best one that could be in an object position? Whom. What is the one that should be in the object position?
Whom.
Good. Which one should be in the object position?
Whom.
Nice. So just remember, who sits in the subject, and it can be sitting in the predicate nominative position, can sit in other noun positions, it can bounce, but whom should be in the object position, and who is mostly in the subject. Also, relative pronouns derives its relative clause. It derives its relative clause from the main sentence. What would that even mean? What do you mean by that? Derives its relative clause from the main sentence. The relative clause from the main sentence. What does that mean? It means it means it comes from the main sentence. You need to understand what the main sentence is and what it's doing to have the appropriate relative clause. So that asks the question, which relative pronoun do we use? Well, it depends on the main clause. Depends on your main part of the sentence. The part of the sentence that can stand alone, the independent clause that stands all by itself. Now, relative pronouns, you need to be careful with the number of people, the number of things. Also, relative pronouns have compound relative pronouns. Did you guys know that? Look at the compound relative pronoun. Do you know what a compound relative pronoun is?
Together.
So their compounds, what's compound mean? Two words that are put together, right? Relative compounds are using the word ever and so ever. So we could say whoever, whenever, whomever, right? Whichever, whosoever, whomsoever. Those are your compound relative pronouns. Ever and so ever. Ever and so ever. Thank you. What do we use after our relative pronoun? Ever and so ever. All right, so Paul, which word or words do we use to make a compound relative pronoun?
Soever.
Soever and
Ever.
ever. Soever and ever. Remember that. Soever or ever, put it after your relative pronoun. Whosoever, whoever, whomever, whenever. So those type of things. We have two different kinds of ways that I want to present this sentence. Richard is the funnest person who I enjoy spending time with. He's my husband. But before we really go into the relative pronoun, I want to show you something. Is funnest a real word?
No.
Okay, Paul says.
Technically it is.
So people will sometimes say it's not and it is. Now, EST means the most. It's superlative. And most people say that you should put most fun. Richard is the most fun person. But if it doesn't sound quite right, you can use funnest. If it sounds better to use the superlative most, use most. Now remember what superlative is, most and est. What's comparative? More and like funner, more fun. Okay? So remember what those are. Richard is more fun person. See how that doesn't even sound right in this sentence. You would have to change it up. So I wanted to just use Richard is the funnest person who I enjoy spending time with. Now this is where people can get a little bit judgy on how you're going to do your pronoun, your relative pronoun. Now, who is relating back to, who is replacing? What is who replacing?
You. No, it's Richard.
Yeah, who is replacing Richard? So is Richard a person?
Yeah.
Yes, so I used the word who. I think who sounds the best in here. But if you say Richard is the funnest person that I enjoy spending time with, some people will say that is okay to do. It sounds good, but if you really want to be true and active, use the word who on people. But we are kind of moving in that direction a little bit, being a little more casual in how we do things. Listen to this one. The condo by the ocean that was free is beautiful. I just got back from Hawaii with my sister and we stayed in a condo that was free to us and it was a lot of fun. What is our relative pronoun here, Dan? Paul, in this sentence?
Which? In Colorado. That which.
That, or we can do which. Now remember, if I feel that I need to have this in there, because it sounds fine to say the condo by the ocean is beautiful, but I wanted everybody to know that I received it for free. So part of me says yes, I want that in there. If I feel it's absolutely necessary, then I leave the word that. But if I don't, what do we use?
Which.
Which. The condo by the ocean, which was free, is beautiful. And then if we use which, what are we going to do with it?
Comma.
We're going to put commas before and after, because then it becomes
Non-essential.
a non-essential. Becomes non-essential. So that means let's talk about restrictive. And I think it's so much easier to say essential and non-essential than it is non-restrictive and restrictive. But basically it's the same thing. Non-restrictive means not essential information. If I'm using the word which, is which non-restrictive or restrictive?
Non-restrictive.
Okay, which is non-restrictive. So that means non-restrictive takes a comma. Takes commas, depending on if it's in the middle, it takes it in the front and in the back. If it's in the front, it takes it in the back. If it's at the end, it takes it in the front. Okay, so remember, non-restrictive, which means not essential information. If I say, the condo by the ocean, which was free, is beautiful. This becomes a non-restrictive, which means not essential information. They take commas. Now, but what if I say, no, I want that in there, and I say, and we're going to use the word that. Is it non-restrictive or restrictive, Paul?
Restrictive.
It's restrictive because this right here, that was free, is absolutely essential information. So basically, non-restrictive is the same as saying not essential. Restrictive is the same as saying essential information. And you're going to see this all of the time. Is it a non-restrictive or restrictive? Or people will say, is it not essential or is it essential? Now let's talk about this more because I think it can be very confusing. Think about restrictive. What does that mean to you? Means you can't move. Think about a coat that's being put on and you can't move. It's staying in one place. That means it's restricting. That means this can't move. That is what restrictive means. It can't go anywhere. But what if we say non-restrictive? Oh, I just put on a coat 2 sizes larger. Now I can have freedom. I can go where I need to go. I can have what I need to have. I can do what I need to do because non means not. Okay? That means you're not restrictive. Okay? Non means not and you're not restrictive. That means this information, that means that this information can be completely taken out. We don't need it. Now let's talk about some more of this compound relative pronoun. We're going to have some sentences with that. Whatever you do, do not be angry. Whatever you do, do not be angry. See how that is a pronoun, okay? Whichever dress you choose, you will look beautiful. All right? However high you climb, you will be able to come down easily. Now, depending on how you like it, if you're like, I really need a comma in here, you could put a comma in here to really break those apart. It just depends. I didn't feel that they needed commas with those pronouns, but you could. Here I felt absolutely needed this comma. Whatever you do, comma, do not be angry. It breaks these two words apart. Whichever dish you choose, the dinner will be special. The candle, whose owner was my mother's, is 40 years old. So this candle actually saw it being made when I was like 10 years old. And so my mom barely burnt it. But anyways, that's the candle I'm talking about. So look at this word, whose. What is this starting? Where is your clause, your dependent clause? Where does it start?
Whose?
Okay, so it starts right here. And where's it end?
Mother's.
You see how this pronoun is starting. So this is a relative pronoun. It is starting the clause. But what's it possessing? Whose owner? But it's also the mother, right? So see how this is a possessive right here, but it's also starting the clause. See how we can take it out? The candle is 40 years old, but I really, really want everybody to know that it's my mother's candle. So I keep that in. And we are doing a dependent clause. And these are relative clauses. All right, these are relative clauses, Paul. Relative clauses. That's describing the candle. Whose owner was my mother's? What's this describing? It's the candle it's describing. So it's a relative clause, which in this way, it's an adjective clause also. How about this one? Paul, pay attention to this. The candle, the owner who was my mother, is 40 years old. Now this is correct, but it sounds goofy. So just be careful not to make it sound cumbersome or weird. Now this might even sound a little bit better. The candle, the owner of whom was my mother. So you could do even of whom, and you can put it in a prepositional phrase. That sounds a little bit better. The owner of the candle. See how you absolutely need commas. If you decide, no, this is how I want it to be said, make sure you put commas around that, because it sounds goofy and it won't read smoothly it will not read smoothly if you don't have the commas in there. The candle is 40 years old. Oh, hey, also what's kind of fun right here, look at this, 40. 40. How do you spell for? How do you spell the word for?
F-O-U-R.
That's the number. This is a highly misspelt word in the English language. So most people think we just do that, which we don't. There's no U in here, 40. So just remember that, put that in your spelling words. Bye everybody.
Thanks for watching. See you in the next episode.